Hey, how you guys doing? It's producer from Brothers Comments. Welcome to the Who Day Over 40 podcast for long time, long suffering Cincinnati Bengals fans. Who Day, everybody. We are 58 days until kickoff when the Cincinnati Bengals host the New England Patriots in Cincinnati. I will be at that game, by the way. And we're going to be counting down the numbers like we've done for the past couple of weeks. Today, we're going from 70 to 58, a weird number because we didn't get a chance to record when it was 60. So we'll go through 58. Got some pictures on here that are going to enrage Big Hutch. Big Hutch, what's happening, man?
What's up? What's up?
Yeah, these numbers here tonight are a little bit odd because one, they're just weird numbers because it's always into offensive linemen because of the numbers. But two, Bengals had some crappy offensive linemen, and some of them are really, really bad, and we'll talk about it here coming up. What's going on?
It's another day in paradise.
Right. Yeah, we got some Bengals news that we'll do at the end of the podcast because we want to get through these numbers. But just to recap, remember, we're looking back at top players in Bengals history that wore these numbers. There are no Hall of Famers, or I would even call Pro Bowlers coming up here, y'all. Some enragers, some aggregators, but definitely nobody that you're going to be like, you know what? If he had had the right thing happen for him, he would have wound up in the Pro Bowl. Actually, maybe one, but we'll get to that momentarily. There's maybe one. But yeah, so we're going to go over that again from 70 to 58 tonight. And then we'll wrap up with some Bengals news that's going on because the Bengals are headed to camp, Hutch. You know, they are, I think rookies report on the 20th, actually the same day as the Jungle Jam, which we'll talk about here momentarily as well. And then the first practice, I think, with everybody is on July the 24th. It's almost here, man.
We need to start off the year without a hurt quarterback and 2-0.
And that's a part of that as we get to the Bengal news about what's going on with Joe Burrow and his, off season that has been going on really since he tore his wrist, whatever that injury was. So we'll talk about that too. But yeah, it's exciting time, man. I always say all the time, and I played this joke on my kids today, if you listen to this podcast, I am in the field of education. Like the start of football season is also the start of school. So it's always a yin yang, a joy and sad situation for me. And then I was looking in a Target ad today, and it was the back to school clothes, and I sent it to my kids. Remember when they used to try to fool us, how should they call it, back to cool?
I do not remember that.
Come on, you don't remember the back to cool sale?
No back to cool. The first memory that I have of going back to school is getting a haircut, standing in line all fucking day.
Oh yeah. Shout out the Blues. Yeah. and God, what is that? Westwood. Yeah, shout out.
And also going to Sears and matching up your Granimals shit.
Oh, come on. No, not when we were older. We weren't rapping no Granimals when we were older. That's come on. Well, actually, I do remember being a little bit older, not that bad, and going to that. Oh God, it's on.
So you can
Third. Huh? No, it's on 3rd Street where they used to sell the Devil's jeans. Red Devil's jeans.
That was, man. If you went back, I know you're talking about, and we went there with our uncle and buying Devil jeans and shit.
Yes.
Man, that shit. If you ask anybody in the universe, did you ever have some Devil jeans on? And that'd be like, niggas, you crazy? That shit was a Dayton special. That was some Indians or some Chinese people.
No, not then. It wasn't. That was full of black folks. No. Too soon.
Black people were sitting there putting devils on underwear on blue jeans on 3rd Street across the street from Casano's.
It wasn't that far up either. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm gonna ask our uncle. Do you remember the name of that place in Dayton on 3rd Street that used to sell the Red Devil jeans? All right, let's see if he gets back to us during the show. Anyway, so yeah, back to school. It's the back of the start of the school year. The Bengals going back. Everything is falling into place. And, we'll get into what we think about that as we go through the season. But yeah, the training camp just right around the corner. Also, first round pick not signed yet, which I think is not that unusual because a bunch of them aren't signed, but it's just weird that it hadn't happened yet because of the rookie
what are you trying
slotting
to hold
scale.
out for?
Yeah, with the rookie slotting scale, they all kind of fall in the line anymore. All right, let's go. I said, let's go. Come on. There we go. All right. Our top number 70s, right? All right. So let me get Hutch enraged off the top here. If
He
you're
sucks.
watching on YouTube, if you're seeing there, it's Cedric Ogbuehi as number 70, affectionately nicknamed by Sandman, a shout out Sandman, as Kid Roller Skates. Yeah, the Bengals made a mistake.
You can find that nigga any flood, cuz
I mean,
he was always letting people fucking get sacks.
yeah, he's still in the league as a backup. I think maybe I want to call Jacksonville, but it might be somebody else at this particular time. But if you look through the list again, if you're on YouTube, Ron Carpenter, Barney Rubble, or Cotton, James Edie, Marcus Hunt had a couple of decent seasons for the Bengals and left and signed, I think, with the Colts as a defensive end. Second round pick, didn't really work out the way they thought. Scott Jones, Cedric Ogbuehi. I think we went to high school with Scott Jones, Andy Rice, Jim Scow. He was on the Super Bowl team as a defensive tackle in. He was not great. Deontay Smith currently wearing that number, will be in a training camp battle to keep his job in the NFL here coming up. Glenn, Steve. I mean, it's just a bunch of craps. But oh boy, he sticks out because of the circumstances.
What should have been, could have been.
Right. Yeah. He sticks out because
we tried him too.
Yeah. You know what? Let's do a little bit of history here. All right. So Kid Roller Skates. It's a canon event, y'all. And if you saw Into the Spider-Verse, you know what a canon event is. If you're not sure about what a canon event is, it's something that's always going to happen in your particular universe that essentially creates a Spider-Man. So this canon event really was the start of the ending for Marvin Lewis's job in Cincinnati. This is the draft of 2015. It's an absolute shit show that they completely screwed up. This is the draft after they freaking lose that freaking playoff game. And this is not great. Well, the draft leading to that playoff game, that they lost to the Steelers. And look at this mess. They draft Cedric Ogbuehi. Okay, that's fine. 21st pick in the draft. He's going to be a tackle of the future. Okay, that's great. He was already injured coming out of Texas A&M. It was also Texas A&M, which is a gimmick-ass offense for sure. So how much blocking was he really doing to begin with? But they draft him. Then they draft Jake Fisher in the second round. They take two tackles. One, essentially, they were expecting that, they weren't going to re-sign Andrew Whitworth. And they drafted his replacement a season in advance. They didn't sign Whitworth. They put him in at right tackle. He sucked. Whitworth left. They put him in at left tackle, and he sucked even more and essentially pushed himself out. Jake Fisher has a bigger highlight as a tackle eligible for a tight end run than he does at anything there. And then he winds up getting hurt as well. And then the rest of the draft is just absolute. I mean, this is a fireable offense. CJ Uzomah, who's a 5th-round pick, is by far the most successful draft pick out of 8 picks. Or no, 9 picks. That's awful. So it's a canon event. Like this is the start of Marv's ending. It didn't happen for 3 more seasons, but this was it right here, Hutch. This was the end.
It should have ended before that, actually. But
it should have ended after the damn playoff loss.
Right.
Go ahead.
That one to the Chargers could have been the one. That could have been it. But yeah, awful.
Yeah, this was it. I mean, just an absolute full draft of absolute nobodies here, and it started at the top.
Nigga, I ain't got enough beer, man.
So I told you to have your drinks before we started this shit. This is terrible. I mean, this is terrible. And oh boy, he is the poster boy for that crap. He was just bad from jump, and it just never worked.
And you know what? Here, the difference between him and Carmen. That
Jackson
other motherfucker.
Jackson Carmen.
I think he actually was trying. He was just awful.
Yeah. I mean, it's we've been over this. It's almost every podcast that the Bengals offensive line woes aren't good. It's been an issue. Everybody, and we'll talk about that survey I think on a different podcast, but it hasn't really worked. Like they just haven't been able to draft and developed offensive linemen. Either they're
And
drafting the
here's the
wrong one
thing.
or they're not coaching them. It's one or the other, or both.
Both.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You 11 people on offense. Fuck. You should not fuck up on damn near all 5 of them for
Right.
40 fucking years.
Well, again, and I said this on a previous podcast earlier. We had this conversation before we started about T. Higgins, which we'll talk about near the end here. If the Bengals had been able to draft a decent offensive lineman, T. Higgins would be a Bengal because those players would be on rookie contracts and they would have the money. But since they don't have the money, they had to go out and sign. Again, everybody on the offensive line is a free agent pick. They all are, except for Cordell Volson, who may be the worst of the bunch of them. So, and when you have to spend money elsewhere, you can't keep your own players. That's a fringe player, and if you're going to want to pay a wide receiver that much, that's a different conversation. But if all those offensive linemen, the Jackson Carman, Deontay Smiths, had worked out, and they were actually able to be viable players in the NFL, then you have that money left over and you can make that decision on who you want to sign. And they haven't done that. So you keep signing free agent offensive linemen.
The other thing about T. Higgins and why he's leaving too, I think, is he was supposed to be the number 1 receiver and he got usurped.
Yes.
And then we could have got Kenny. He went to the Lions.
Right.
Whatever his name is. Yeah. So, that don't help either.
Well, I mean, but that then be better than freaking Chase. How about that? Or not be injured. I mean, again, things are out of his control. I'm just being a fan in that regard. But like, it's you have an all-timer on the other side. It's going to make you look less than, especially if you're not playing as often as you should or could be. All right. So yeah, that's a canon event. Yeah, it's Cedric O'Boy by a mile as the worst. I don't even know who you would call the best one, to be honest, out of that list. As number 70,
the one that got that
Jim Scow, Jim Scow, maybe Marcus Hunt, maybe I don't really know, but it none of them are great. I could have put the trash can up, but I didn't. All right, let's get to 69. 69. Enough said. Tim Crumry, 69. That it's pretty much it. Not a Hall of Famer, but definitely a very good player for the Bengals while he was there. Yes, he'll be a Ring of Honor person at some point in time.
Another Super Bowl we should have won, maybe.
Yeah, and then I mean, again, I was just sharing with Goat Killer that he gets hurt on the first defensive possession that the Bengals are on in that Super Bowl. Don't YouTube it because it's pretty gnarly. His injury, and then that ended his career. I don't know that he came, or did he come back, or
he came back. He played a couple seasons afterwards.
Okay, yeah, it was bad though. It was Theismann-esque in terms of
worse than Theismann, I think.
Yeah, the flopping fish, I think we called it, and it was bad. And but he's enough said. He's made a career for himself as a defensive line coach, like with the Bills for a very long time. And then, he trains defensive linemen or something like that. So, yeah,
Will he get that thing tomorrow or next week?
I don't believe he is on that list, and I will pull up that list as we get to the end for Jungle Jam. But, yeah, I don't believe he's on the list. All right, here we go. 68. All right. So, again, if you're on YouTube, again, I put pictures of people that I know will enrage Hodge. Let's go over the list first. Again, it's just a bunch of garbage. Well, Jonathan Fanene, he had a couple of decent seasons.
He had a cup of coffee.
Yeah, he wins the Super Bowl with the Patriots. The rest of it, though, Josh Tupou just left. He signed a free agent contract, a 1-year deal with the Titans. That's Bengals South now. Kevin Zeitler was a Pro Bowler, really. Outside of Cincinnati, winds up making the Pro Bowl in Cleveland and wind up making the Pro Bowl with the Ravens as he signed over there a couple of years ago. Also, and just got another free agent contract. The Bengals tried to bring him back, but lowballed him, of course, because that's who they are. And and then Bobby Hart, y'all. This nigga. All right. So it's not that he was bad because he was. He was bad. He was a bad offensive lineman. We rolled him out there consistently being bad. But he also had the nerve, like, consistently to like, oh damn, Andy Dalton's down, his man sacked him. He yelling at Andy Dalton while Andy Dalton on the ground. Hey man, it's your fault. It's your fault he on the ground, man. And he's yelling at the quarterback as if it was somehow the quarterback's fault. Bad dude too. I think not bad in like, oh, I'm hanging out in the over the Rhine district. Bad, just like I don't know that he cared. Still in the league too, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's with the Dolphins, maybe. Everybody comes to Florida today, including me. So, like, come on, Hutch. He's the best of the bunch.
Zeitler is the best thing on here. Yeah, he's the best thing on here by far. Mm-hmm. And the rest of these fucking
bums.
Criminals.
Bums. You got any Bobby Hart memories, though?
No, nothing. I mean, it's already Sunday. I should be painting.
This is a family show.
Right.
Yeah, it's a bad list, though. I mean, again, we've been fans for a long time. Both of us got fairly decent memories up to this point. I do not know 5 of these dudes on this list. 5 max. 5 max.
Yeah, 5 max.
He's the worst of the bunch. And again, yes, Zeitler would be the best, or Josh Tupou, who at least was. I mean, yeah, Zeitler was what 4 or 5 seasons in Cincinnati. Tupou, what 6, 7 seasons. So yeah, I mean, I would probably go with Tupou just because he was there longer. But yeah, Zeitler's overall career much better.
I would take Zeitler right now and throw the middle 3 out of there quick.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next. 67. Oh, the garbage can makes its reappearance. 67, the top 67, y'all. Okay, so I put it up there, and I probably should have made an addendum before putting it up because Cordell Volson is on this list. He's about to be our starting left guard in
again
58 days.
Right, yeah. And we're fucked if he is.
Yeah, in 58 days, he's about to be there. Kimo Von Hoffen is on here, but he's more famous for what he did in somebody else's 67 than what he did for the Bengals. So, and then Quentin Spain is on here, who played like 2 seasons for Cincinnati. He started in the Super Bowl as well. He really kind of came in and stabilized a little bit of that line. I mean, again, the whole line is ass, but he was maybe the least less ass of the bunch of them. But like, you know. Yes, but again, he could have gone into. I mean, once the Bengals were done with him, they were done with him after the Super Bowl too. They didn't bring him back, and even as much as he even tried, I don't even think he got back into the league. So, yeah, this is a bunch of bad players up here. And again, sadly, Cordell Volson may be the best of the worst. Tallest midget, nicest guy in prison, whatever one you want to look at here, but it's all bad for 67. Anybody on there? Jerry Fontenot. I mean, he had some good seasons for some other people, but not necessarily.
All these motherfuckers in stripes. I mean, and that second from the bottom should be. Right. So all these, not all these, but the names you do know are the ones that are not helping us. That's why everybody's got silver rings.
Yeah. Again, Cordell Volson. It seems like the last 2 years it's been like, well, if he needs to take a step, And I think at the end of last year he was playing better. At the start of the year he was bad. I think that level of consistency just isn't there. And again, he's the only offensive lineman that was drafted by the Bengals on the starting 5. Everybody else is a free agent. And that's not good.
And he's only there because
yeah. Well, and again, you might have a new starting right tackle if Mims comes in and takes that spot from Trent Brown. At some point in time in the season, you got to expect that Trent Brown's only on a 1-year deal anyway. At the worst, it's at the start of next season. So you have 2 drafted players. That's still not great out of 5.
Somebody said we have a top 10 offensive line.
I saw that online too. And
And
again,
I'm like, what the hell have you been watching?
but I think, well, again, you can't say that it's worse because Trent Brown is a solid right tackle. You have a solid right tackle. Kappa's good. Karras, I don't think is very good, but whatever. Volson is average as well. And then your left tackle is pretty decent too. Like, I mean, it's better. This is the best offensive line that Joe Burrow has played behind after saying this last year that this was the best offensive line Joe Burrow has played behind. So somebody's wrong.
Somebody real wrong.
Right.
It gave up 49 sacks with that offensive line last year.
Right. So you have to figure,
and we can't ruin.
You have to figure that, something has to change, or it's just going to be a lot of the same. Like there's no middle ground here. If they're not going to be better, nothing's changed. The coach is the same. The scheme is the same. Like none of that has changed. So they either have to be better or it's just going to be the same. And I guess the obvious answer is that it also could be worse. But yeah, I'm curious as to seeing how it's going to go. But nobody wearing 67 is going to actually help that in any way, shape, or form.
Unless something special happens to
right.
Mr. Yeah.
Okay.
Real special.
66, y'all. Yes, it's Fat Sean Smith if you're on YouTube. Most famous for being a tattletale and telling stories out of school. And Marvin Lewis and Chad Johnson got to put somebody in a headlock during halftime of that 2005 championship or playoff game against the Steelers. It's always the damn Steelers, by the way.
Always.
So, yeah.
And do you believe it?
Not really.
You don't believe? I believe it.
No, not if it came from a different source. He's a fat piece of shit, Sean Smith. He is, was, and always is, will be. I'm surprised he's still with us, to be honest with you. Like, he's just that. Anyway, he left and went to the Browns, which tells you a lot. And I think he played in Kansas City a little bit after that. Like, dude sucked. He's always going to be like the big fat guy in the middle, but he was just a big fat guy in the middle. He wasn't anything special or anything like that. But if you look at the other 66s, like Kappa wore 66 for a season. We'll come back to him here when we get to 65. Anybody else on this list? I mean, it's pretty bad. Sean Smith's a year. Evan Mathis. Evan Mathis had a couple of decent seasons at guard. Trey Hopkins started in the Super Bowl and then never played again. I mean, again, look at that. In 2021, the Bengals go to the Super Bowl. On that starting five of the offensive line, Riley Reef never played again, but he didn't start.
Your Kappa's on here too.
Yeah, but Kappa didn't start in the Super Bowl.
No, he didn't. But I'm saying the numbers cursed.
But no. He's actually 65. He only wore 66 for one season. We're coming to it. Yeah. But like Trey Hopkins never played again. Quentin Spain never played again. That's 2 out of the 5.
Hell, they didn't play before either.
Hakeem Adeniji is on that line as well. I think he's still in the league. I mean, it's not great. It's not good. But as far as 66s go, it's pretty bad here too. Could have put the trash can emoji up. I only put up Sean Smith just because I hate his fat face and his, tall tails or whatever. I mean, again, there was a bunch of other people in there that could have confirmed or whatever that story. Nobody ever said it. It was just him.
I don't know who came out and denied it, other than Ocho.
Everybody. I'm not buying it. It would have gotten it. Tell a secret, tell a graph, tell a girl, man, or tell a football player. Like they're the biggest gossips outside of the NFL players or NBA players. That would have gotten out. I'm not buying it. But I probably go with Trey Hopkins. I mean, he started in the Super Bowl as the best one. Again, Kappa's going to come up at 65, but I can anybody else on here?
I can't. I gotta be nice. Yeah, I'm out. Nothing. Garbage.
It should have been garbage can emoji. That's fine. All right. 65. Max Montoya. Enough said, man. Yeah. Probably should be in the freaking in the Hall of Fame. At a minimum, Bengals Ring of Honor person, which I'm sure will be coming up soon. But
we had a thing for Mexicans.
Yeah, Max Montoya. Hi, kids. Let me explain to you what Plan B free agency is. So if you're young, and this is what, 1990? Let's rewind it before that. Okay, so the NFL players did not have free agency. You played until you died.
And
or you played out your
you were
contract.
a slave.
Yeah, that was it. Like you were
Still a
done.
slave.
Yeah, so there was none of that. And then when the Bengals or the players struck, and then they finally got this what was called Plan B free agency. It's essentially like where the Bengals could match an offer with a team, but if the other team, they could make the contract work where a way where the team wouldn't match. It's kind of like what they have now with some of the free agency that they can, teams can match, but Plan B doesn't really exist anymore, at least under not that name. And so the Raiders made a Plan B contract that the Bengals refused to match. And then he wound up with the Raiders for the last couple of years for his career. But he was really good, a very good guard on the Super Bowl team as well. But the Bengals, they were cheap. He's on both Super Bowl teams, and they just were cheap. And again, the canon event for the 90s starts with losing him in Plan B. How'd you got anything on Max
He's been one of my favorite players that no one talks about. And yes, when he left, and shit, next Bo Jackson's running all left and right on everybody. Yeah. And that's all. That's enough said until.
Yeah, it's definitely Montoya as enough said. But look at the decent players that have worn 65. Clint Bowling out of Georgia played, some decent years at guard for the Bengals. I think he was a 4th-round pick. Alex Kappa currently doing that. Larry Ogunjobi, that was a great signing. I think part of our losing the Super Bowl is when he gets hurt in that Raiders game. And, that was our interior pass rush. And he, I think he had, 8 sacks that year, signing as a free agent with the Bengals from the defensive tackle position. And, man, we didn't replace that. And it definitely hurt us in the Super Bowl as well. Eric Steinbach, one of the I think he was the top 2nd-round pick of the same draft that Carson Palmer was in. So Palmer was first and Steinbach was second. And, that's obviously 2 decent picks, and he did really well. And then Bengals don't pay guards, winds up signing with the Browns. That's the Kevin Zeitler story all over again, So actually some pretty decent players that wore 65, with obviously, again, as, Max Montoya being, probably a borderline Hall of Famer. So, yeah, a good list at 65 for sure. But, yeah.
And then the rest for sure.
Yeah, Bengals really, that was really the start. That was a canon event, man, for the 90s. You're not signing Max Montoya. Awful. 64. I'm calling Bruce Kozerski, the center, as, he starts in the Super Bowl 2 as your center. The rest of the dudes on the list could be garbage cans, Hutch. Anybody on there? Rod Payne, he sucked. God almighty. Dave Remington, I thought he was there for a lot longer than that, but he was only there for a season. Anybody else on this list? Ted Karras is there now. Again, Cincy Hats does all this work in the community in Cincinnati. Seems like a really good guy, decent person, loves everybody. But as a football player, to me, I think he's this Attack of the Clones, man. He's just not Revenge of the Sith or Phantom Menace. People like, oh, it's better, but yeah, is it though?
No, it's
just better. It's just not as bad as the other one, right?
Right.
Has been so bad.
Still gives up sacks left and right.
Yeah, it's still been bad. So there's just these two, but yeah, Bruce Kozerski is probably the best. Any other 64s you see?
Nintendo.
No.
No, other than that, no.
None of these dudes. No. Yeah, it's all bad. This is like the bad of the offensive linemen because again, the Bengals, it's feast or famine, man. They usually get like a freaking Pro Bowler or something, or a Hall of Fame-esque, or it's absolute garbage.
We've had maybe 3 Hall of Fame offensive linemen.
Right, but top 63, Bobby Williams. That's enough said.
Shit, what the fuck are you doing to me, man?
No, Bobby Williams was a very good player for the Bengals. I will fight you on this one. He signed as a free agent from the Eagles. What was that? I can't remember what season it was, but he signed there. He was there for a bit, and he was an actually decent guard for the Bengals. No, I will fight you on that one. And especially he's going to be when you look at the rest of these freaking.
If you look at the rest of them, Trey Hill.
He should also be on the roster bubble here, start of this particular coming season, because he's terrible
Probably
out of
was the
Georgia.
best thing on there, but
Right.
there's
Christian
a whole
Westerman there. Oh, everybody wanted Christian Westerman, Westerman Hive to play guard. He sucked. I mean, there's no Mike Goff. He had a couple of cups of coffee there as a decent, okay guard. But I mean, Shaq Calhoun, who the hell? Come on, man. It's just a bunch of bad.
what in the ECW. I mean, it's awful. It's all
Yeah.
awful.
No, Bobby Williams was a decent guard for the Bengals. He was definitely average to above average.
But average to above average.
But again, you can't. What's Paul Dana Jr. called? No donkeys. Like he wasn't a donkey. Like you can't have an ass on the whole line. He was a no donkey player. I mean, again, he's not. You're not gonna have 5 Pro Bowlers. So you have to have at least a couple of players that are average to above, at least average, and then surround them with people that are above. And he was definitely, And so what he plays in 2004. So that's just Willie Anderson is on his right there for a couple of seasons. He does all right. But the rest of it, nobody else at 63 is doing anything for me. All right, let's keep it moving. 62, Dave Lapham, enough said. And it really ain't maybe for his football play, but for his freaking voice of the Bengals. Whatever. Yeah, I didn't even put the rest of them up there because there was hardly any other 62s. He was a versatile lineman, during both Super Bowl years. He played essentially 5 positions. Master of none. Essentially, but he stayed on the team for a very long time. He could get into the Ring of Honor here when they, announce this here in a couple of days. He may be one of the honorees. His calls on the Bengals radio network, coffin nails when the Bengals win, bang, bang, bang. Like, it's lap.
Classic.
There was no other 62s. Yeah, I mean, he gets in for sure. 61, Russell Bodine. Yes. God, I miss Sandman on these things. One of his quotes from our older podcast is like, there's certain players that you have to take away from Marvin Lewis. Russell Bodine was one of them, along with Michael Johnson too. You just got to take him away because he'll just keep rolling him out there just because that's what he's comfortable with. And Russell Bodine was that dude. He played center for the Bengals for 5 seasons. He sucked for 5 seasons, and we just kept rolling him out. And when we did finally get rid of him, we almost matched the contract with the Bills were going to sign him to, and we didn't. The Bills had him for 1 season and cut him, and then he never played again. Now, what does that tell you?
It ain't like the Bills. The Bills ain't actually a great running team either. Or
that was a while ago. I mean, he's been out of the league probably 7 to 8 years at this point.
Right, but there ain't been no Bills of worth since Thurman Thomas.
So, I mean, this was bad. He was absolute garbage. I didn't put any other 61s up because I just wanted to enrage you. But Russell Bodine, he was like Billy Price +2. That's basically it. He was bad, and he was always bad, and we just rolled him out there. And he would get the excuse all the time, from Marvin and other people. Oh, y'all don't know what it is. It's 5 parts to the glove, and no, man. Your glove don't have no tips on them, bro.
Glove. OJ used your gloves.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad, bro. Like, come on. Like, just he is definitely one of those you gotta take him away from Marvin dudes. 60. Oh, the garbage can reappears, Hutch. It reappears. Look at that list.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that list. Let's take a moment.
Eric Moore, awful.
Let's take a moment. Oh, Michael Jordan is on there, the player who helped Joe Burrow get his knees freaking shredded in Washington. Who's I think maybe still in the league, also out of Ohio State. That's even worse. Langston Moore, he had a good season for other teams. He went to Seattle on a free agent. I think he played okay over there. Anybody else?
That's a horrible list.
Jackson Kirkland currently on the team, practice squad, but everybody else, TJ Johnson sucked. He was bad. I mean, this is a bunch of junk.
Right, you just hurt my stomach.
Yeah, 60 is an absolute garbage can for the Bengals. And again, only one player currently wearing that number was just Jackson Kirkland, again, who's on the practice squad. But it'll be, probably pushing the Jackson Carmens and the Deontay Smiths of the world for a backup guard spot. And this is where I get with the Bengals. Like, what? Again, I know there's not any good guards out there, like, free agents, because if they were, they'd be signed with a team. But there's somebody out there's probably better than Jackson Kirkland and Jackson Carmen and
Yeah.
the Jackson 5 at this point.
Ugh.
Because, come on, man. Like, seriously? Like, sign a veteran. If you're going to be spending this money, spend it on somebody that you would think at least can play, not necessarily somebody that, at least in Jackson Carmen's case and Deontay Smith, that can't play. I mean, it's been 3 years now. So, anybody else on this list?
Turn the page. Holy Macker's killing me.
59. Not any better. 59, the garbage can makes it back out, sir. Garbage can is out. Oh, I put the note on there is the number of average and below linebackers for the Bengals. So let's start at the top. He's still currently on the team, signed a 1-year free agent deal. Akeem Davis-Gaither, third down back for the Bengals. He didn't really play that much last year because they had Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt out there for every damn play, which was probably not a great idea.
5-2 or whatever they were, 4-2-5.
Brandon Johnson, Landon Johnson, these were some Marvin dudes at linebacker that you had to take away from him. Emmanuel Lemure, same thing. Oh, he's gonna be this gadget piece.
Right.
Yeah.
Father Flanagan, fucker.
Yeah, he's gonna be this gadget piece. He can do all these things.
We can save these people from
Nick Vigil. Nick Vigil.
The
white linebacker. Yeah. He wound up. Yeah, and he wound up signing
with all these.
He might wind up
wackadoodles. Oh,
yeah, it's all bad. I mean, it's just bad. I wouldn't even know. I mean, I left the garbage can up. It's just a bunch of average dudes. I mean, again, Brandon Johnson, Landon Johnson had okay careers, but I mean, they weren't. Nobody's screaming for them.
Right, they got pensions, I guess.
Yeah, Nick Vigil. Same thing. Kevin Walker. I think he had a couple of decent years in the late 80s, early 90s as an okay linebacker, but nothing to write home about. So 58 might be a little bit or 59 might be a little bit bad just for linebackers and whatever. So Akeem Davis-Gaither, the one currently wearing it, again, on a 1-year deal. All right. 58, man. Hutch goes off in 3, 2, 1.
Fuck them. All of them. Carl Lawson.
Yeah.
I'm the best pressure linebacker ever.
Yeah, I don't get sacks, but I get pressures.
Yeah. Fuck.
And the Jets fell for that shit.
Right.
And paid him a bunch of money. And then he went up there and got hurt, unfortunately, which he was hurt coming into the league. He got hurt with the Bengals, and he got hurt up there too. I think it's a bunch of ACLs. I don't know if he re-signed with them or re-signed with anybody else.
That's out in the street.
Okay. Handman CJ Uzama. Yeah. After they signed him from Cincinnati. But yeah. Brian Pillman.
Flying Brian
Pillman, 58, No, that ain't it.
No, that ain't it.
Again, we are old school Bengals fans. I don't remember nothing about. I don't care what Jim Ross says. I don't remember nothing about Brian Pillman about being on the Bengals, man. Nothing.
And hey, you know what? And when I saw his ass on fucking wrestling wearing orange and black striped draws, I was like, wonder why he's doing that shit. I just look that up.
He's like, he was Boomer Esiason's best friend, my God. Like, what are you talking about, sir? I mean, sadly, it is Ray Maluga as the best. Again,
that motherfucker couldn't find the hole.
Yeah, well.
He ain't got no kids, apparently.
Well, he does have kids. No, he does. He's married. He's got kids.
Couldn't find the hole nowhere else.
Well, but here's the issue. And again, I want to be sensitive to, but No, well, that too. Well, I want to be sensitive to those particular issues because, I mean, he said it afterwards that, he is battling a massive alcohol addiction or whatever while he's trying to play. And that's unfortunate. And, but yeah, I mean, it obviously, that dude, when he was playing with those other two white linebackers that were both all roided up, so anything that they did was
and Lowball.
But who was the dude that played for Houston? Oh God, he was white and everybody loved him, but he was all roided up.
JJ Watt?
No, come on. He played for the Texans as the linebacker. I can't remember his name, but there was like two white linebackers and Ray. No, come on, bro. No, not Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly didn't play for them. I think it's Brian something.
Brian Kuechly. What's it? Fucking Houston.
Henry's, by the way, his Uncle Jimmy has come through. It was Henry's, the actual discount store.
Henry.
That is right. I remember.
It is right, but it's so wrong.
He sent a picture.
Right, and there should be cops out there.
I wonder if it's still open.
It's still open. Thursday should be blocked.
Brian Cushing was the linebacker.
Brian Cushing, yeah.
And there was another one that played for a different team that was also a roided up monster. But anyway, they were all at USC, and then we somehow got the worst of him. He's a second round pick. We thought he'd be the best one. We thought he'd be the better one because he had the higher profile. He dropped to the second round, which probably should have been a sign. He was only really a 2-down linebacker. That also should have been a sign, but the Bengals kept rolling him out there on third downs, and tight ends were just, abusing him to the point of calling, child services.
And so he was and his demons was going off.
Yeah, and his demons on top of that. So he probably, and again, no matter what you think and say about Cincinnati or whatever, like it's a place where if you want to find, I mean, it could be any place, but if you really want to find like some trouble, you can find it fairly easily and not that far from that stadium. And that's what he did, and, he got himself into trouble. He got himself into a couple situations that he's probably lucky that he was able to even play in the league or at least alleged. And, that was what it was. But yeah, definitely
the fucking running back would be in the 3 gap. He'd hit the fucking 7 gap. Or
definitely not the Prince that was promised.
Perry.
Yeah, definitely not. But the rest of that list is pretty bad too. Caleb Miller, Carl Lawson, you already brought up.
I saw somebody. I thought Osai.
Osai there. He's the current wearer of the number. Yeah. Again, could be okay. Consistently hurt. Consistently hurt.
Still, I mean, tight ends live and love us.
And again, unfortunately, at 50, he's a defensive end, so he shouldn't be covering anybody. But Joseph Osai's biggest play memory now is hitting Patrick Mahomes out of bounds in the championship game that led to the field goal. Right. Again, and I think that carried over into the next season because he was, played decent the year before, and I think it carried over into last season where, mentally he wasn't able to recover from that. Right. And we'll see how he responds this year. Now it's a contract year, and let's see what he can do. But yeah, all right. So that's it, y'all. 58 days until kickoff. This is again going through offensive lineman numbers for the Bengals, and then if it ain't an offensive lineman, it's a linebacker. Bruh. Good luck. Like I know 57 off the top of our head here coming up is going to be Jermaine Pratt. Like you're not doing it today, but man, he had a very good season, 2 seasons in a row. And then last year, him and freaking Logan Wilson, man, both got paid and both kind of went into the tank. And, you got to hope it was other factors, but man, both of them did not play well once they got contracts. All right, let's jump in. Little Bengals news. T. Higgins, and if you're watching on YouTube, Hutch has it was his headline there on his title there. But yeah, the Bengals, it'll be tomorrow. Actually, I don't think it's today. Like he's not going to get an extension. Not going to get an extension for T. Higgins. I don't think this is a surprise to anyone. He's going to play out the franchise tag. He already signed it. He'll be in camp when they open up on the 24th. There's no issue in that regard. I think he knows that he has to play to get paid. and holding out was just going to create a distraction. Generally speaking, you hear people talking. He's a generally good dude. So I didn't think he was going to, hold out or do anything like that. I thought he would report late like Jesse Bates did, but, he decided to sign it to get into camp. Might have been a back end deal too, because the Bengals could franchise him again next year. Might have been look, I'll come, but don't double franchise tag me.
Yeah, he's been fucked by them once.
Yeah, so I mean I would assume that would be my thought if you do conspiracy, brother. But he's not getting a deal. I don't think anybody thought he was getting a deal. The Bengals drafted a wide receiver this year in the third round, Jermaine Burton.
The college is only putting out decent
wide receivers. Yeah, I can't believe that the market hasn't been depressed like running backs at this point. Give it some time.
And that's what he's afraid of, and he's right.
Yeah, and give it some time, because it's just, in a league where you can't touch people, or, as defensive backs hardly anymore, people are just running free, essentially, if you can block them up. And, people.
Defensive backs are 5'9", and the wide receivers are 6'4".
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, but he's got every incentive to play well and to get a big contract and have the Bengals do well and all of those things. Needs to stay healthy, which is probably his biggest bugaboo that will affect his money moving forward. Again, you're not surprised he's not getting a deal. There's no way that you're going to pay Chase $30+ million and him $25 million on the salary.
That he's still on the team is, I've never thought the Bengals would franchise, and that was, which is whatever. That's
right.
I would have never thought they'd done that. I knew they weren't going to re-sign him though.
Sorry. All right. Yeah, but why not? Why not the franchising? Like, why let him walk for free?
Because your offensive line sucks.
Okay, but again,
and your defense sucks too.
But again, you'd have to have somebody out there that's worthy of that particular money. This is not how this team is set up, is to win offensively and survive defensively. I don't, I like, oh, well, we're going to spend this $21 million on fill in the blank offensive or defensive player. Like, where was that happening?
You could have, but now you got a $21 million wide receiver that don't want to be there behind a $5 offensive line and a quarterback that's been hurt 2 out of the 4 years he's been playing.
But if he plays well, his number comes off the book, and you still have that $21 million. You know, it's a rental. He's a rental at this point.
He was a high expensive rental.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not. I don't know. I guess it was said and whatever that it was set up for him to be there at least this year in terms of before Burrow's contract kicks in and Chase's won't kick in probably for a couple of more years too. Like, I think this was just a part of the plan. And again, if he come in and played really, really well, and maybe they win that Super Bowl, and he hasn't been missing all these games or whatever, maybe this is a different conversation. But I think all of that factors into the fact that that's why he got franchised, and that's why he's not getting a long-term deal. Again, like I said on the last podcast, good luck playing in Atlanta or fill in the blank, whatever with whatever bad quarterback. Or well, they don't have any money, so it's going to be one of those teams that has a rookie quarterback, or a quarterback with a that hadn't gotten their big deal yet, because they just you just can't afford a $50 million quarterback and a $25 million wide receiver.
2 of them.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the way of the system. But yeah, I'm wondering if like 3 to 5 years the wide receiver market doesn't get depressed like running backs, and them salaries start getting squashed down a little bit, because it seems to be everybody's getting 1,000 yards receiving now is like getting 1,000 yards rushing. It really ain't that big a deal. All right, I saw this and I sent this to you, and I know you had a different take that. Colin Cowherd, who I don't ever listen to, agree with, or whatever.
Him and Jason Whitlock both take the spaceship to somewhere.
Yeah, I don't. But he made this comparison on his show, and he has Burrow on a guest on his show during the football season, and he made this comparison that Joe Burrow is Joel Embiid, and we were talking about basketball a little bit earlier before we started recording, in that his take was, Burrow when he's on the field is really, really good, much like Embiid is too. But the injuries at this point, Embiid always gets injured in the playoffs. Like it's like clockwork. It's almost the Chris Paul situation. It's like Chris Paul would always get injured in the playoffs. Like Embiid gets injured before, during, after, like the playoffs, and you don't. It's hard to count on him. Now again, Burrow's injuries and ACL. That's a football injury or whatever. That happens. The calf. He probably shouldn't have been practicing and took a rest day, but because he always feels he's, the third string quarterback at Ohio State, he kept pushing. The wrist, a freak injury. Like I have a hard time calling him injury prone, but it seems like, it seems like you have to be able to be available. Your best whatever is availability. And he hasn't been available this particular season. And again, the last 2 seasons, he finished them out. Like, we can't really say that. He finished those 2 seasons with some nicks here and there, but he did finish the season. And they go to the AFC Championship game both years and a Super Bowl. And then the one year that he doesn't do that, that's the year he hurts his ACL. So he recognizes it. He's like, he put on 10 to 15 pounds of muscle, trying to get a little bit bigger to survive the season. That wrist injury is scary to me, though, because no other quarterback has had this injury and dealt with it. So it makes me freaking shudder at night. But I think it's probably an apt comparison, because when both are healthy and playing and on the court or field respectively, they're complete game changers and, MVP candidates and whatever. But at times it feels like you can't depend on them to be there. So, what's your thought?
I mean, yeah, if he's on the field, we got a puncher's chance. But we got to keep him on the field.
Mm-hmm.
He don't play. He ain't got to play defense. But we got to score a lot of points, I think. And we got to throw the ball to do it. So he got to be on the court, or he got to be on the field and healthy-ish.
And a lot of his off-season stuff has been, him deciding, like, I can't just keep pushing through things. And and again, that for me, hearing that, it comes with it's a yin yang situation again. Like, I can't be pushing through this injury, and I'm going to be, all the white guy, first guy in the building, last guy to leave, leave it all on the field, like all of those things. And again, he has that mentality of always being the underdog, and that's kind of probably what makes him a little bit special. I don't know how you turn that off, Hutch. Like, I'm going to, try to be, I'm not going to, make all those scrambles that, the escapability that he does, the extend plays, and, he takes some hella hits for that. Now, again, he put on 10.
I got to turn that shit off when I get off the field and my bank account got $200 million in it.
Yeah, but again, he put on the weight to try to survive the season more by taking these hits, or, if he has to take these hits. I just, again, all that those intangibles is what makes him special. If he's trying to, as I'm saying, like in the heat of battle, you could say that in the offseason when the bullets aren't flying, no pun intended. How do you turn that off during the season? Like, I don't see how that happens.
When you're fucking on the bottom of a pile of 5 other niggas, and 2 of them are on your team, and the other 3 is on the other team, you'll be like, fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. The risk scares me more than anything. Like, nothing else really scares me, but the risk kind of does. Like, I don't know. Just because nobody else has been through that, he couldn't find any quarterback that had that injury. Some offensive linemen, but no quarterbacks. So, but also, I mean, I think I said this on the last podcast, there ain't no way in God's green earth that this fool is out there on every damn podcast that he could get on with all these people at the fashion runway, at the white party, after all of this, if he ain't healthy. Because if you aren't healthy, man, the backlash is going to be something that he ain't even close to being prepared for. It ain't even close. Like, it's going to be a flood of negativity that he ain't never seen before. Do you agree?
Yes, we're going to be like, he better be healthy. But when we're going down the list of who gonna catch hell for it, it's still gonna be the offensive line first.
Yeah, I think he still has I think he still has a lot of goodwill, that he could probably get through. But man, he better freaking he can't do all this other stuff in the
He,
off season.
he if he right, he has to. I mean, we will see. But yeah, the right. You don't think it, but I think it. I think the offensive line is number one on the list, and number two on the hot seat is the coach.
Yeah, no, the Bengals don't operate like that, but I understand the thought process behind it, and we'll see what happens. Like I just, again, yeah, all the filters out there. I think I saw somewhere that the over under on them was something like 9 or so wins or 10. I don't know, you're more in the gambling world than I am, but
I saw
like it's not
10 and a
well.
half. Yeah, 10 and a half.
But I'm saying, yeah. So I mean, it's not like, what I'm saying, like people think that they're going to be good, So it just, it all comes down obviously to his health more than anything, and then after that we go from there. But it's yeah, I don't know. You better be healthy though. You cannot.
You
You
right.
cannot.
If he has another non-football injury before the start of the season,
Yeah.
that'll be on him.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's going to be, why weren't you training? Why are you out in Paris? Like, all of that shit's going to come back in uh, in a way that he ain't prepared for.
Right.
He might think he
but
is.
unfortunately, right. 4 of our 17 games is against the fucking defensive MVP or the sack leader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they love to some Burrow meat.
Right. All right. All right, so the last part of this is coming up is the Jungle Jam presented by, Bengal Jim is the person that is behind this, him and his group or whatever, and it's a fan fest it's in Kentucky, in Newport on the Levee on Saturday the 20th from 12 to 6. Excuse me, they're going to have a bunch of former players there and current players as well, and we'll kind of go through the list or whatever. I will be there, whole family.
Kentucky for real?
Yeah, it's in Newport. That's Newport.
Wow.
That's just Cincinnati South, man.
Kentucky, I know. Yes.
So, but yeah, I'll be there, whole crew in total with me, and so just to kind of go over some of the people, I'm trying to pull this up on my uh to my Twitter page. It's not X, by the way. Never call it X. And so let's see if I can do share screen at this point. And so we'll do that. Present share screen. All right, let's do it. So I'll just kind of go through some of these folks. And if you're listening to this, you're planning on being there, that's great. But if you're not planning on being there, that's also great too. But I think this is a great event that's being put on by the Bengals. I'm kind of scrolling through his page here. So let's see. I'm trying to get into the who's going to be there parts. Let's see. There's a whole bunch of these things. Now, Hutch, I told you should go. We were talking about it earlier. You were like, maybe I will go. You should go. I don't understand why you wouldn't go.
Seeing a whole bunch of old mofos makes me old.
But there's going to be a bunch of young players there too, like current players.
They make me old too.
Zach Taylor's going to be there. All right, so just going through off the top of here, Jeff Blake, do anything for you?
Nope.
Andre Yosivas, wide receiver.
Extra no.
Let's see. There's going to be swag bags. Let's see. Come on. Oh, here we go. So there's this big, kind of list. I can't read this, and probably you can't either. But just off the top of my head, Munoz, Kenny Anderson, Willie Anderson, Jeff Blake, Corey Dillon will be there. Icky, James Brooks, Max Montoya is going to be there. You called it on there. Look at TJ Hushmanzada. These are all the old. Joe Kelly, the linebacker there. Dre Kirkpatrick, you might want to go ahead and punch him in the face. John Thornton, Jim Breach, Shane Graham. Evan McPherson.
I see 97 on there.
That's John Thornton, not Geno
Oh,
Atkins. So Von Bell will be there. Trent Irwin, Zach Taylor, uh, Rich Brom, Tim McGee. I mean, is this? I mean, I think
I got something for you, sir.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
You remember when our father, who art in
Yeah.
heaven, I believe,
Yeah.
who took us to go see the Bengals and Browns basketball game?
It sounds vaguely familiar. Yes.
Yes, I think that's one of the first time we ever saw Zach too.
Yeah, I do believe I remember something about that. Yes.
Well, we went down. Well, we remember we went down there to get some autographs,
No,
and
did
I
we
don't
get
know.
ganked?
And we got right here like, you get away from me, little nigga.
Vaguely.
Yeah, that was, as you call it, the canon moment or whatever.
Yeah, canon event. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the canon event.
I do have again. I do have a fear, and fear's too strong. I do have a fear though that it's obviously. I mean, they said there were 2,500 tickets or so. I have a fear that it's going to be like, hey, your nephew's going to be like, he wants to meet Jermaine Burton, the rookie wide receiver, skill position dude, of course. And there's a couple people that I was like, hey, you know what? I wouldn't mind getting a picture with. I'm like you, like, hey, that story a few years ago, I could have got a picture with Ric Flair. That ain't the Ric Flair that I remember, man. Why would I want a picture with that corpse of a player? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good on that. That ain't the Ric Flair that I know, so I wouldn't get a picture with him. So I'm gonna go get a picture with freaking Ken Anderson. I already have one technically from the last tailgate, but I would be kind of interested in like hey, I have a picture with Zach Taylor or Evan McPherson or something like that. I think that would be kind of cool. My fear is that 2,499 other people will have that thought, and I'll either be stuck in a line or get moved out of the line or something like that, and I just spend my time in a Comic-Con fashion just being in line, and I don't like that idea.
I don't like it. I know I don't like it, and I did the Comic-Con line.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm saying. So I'm just kind of
and the Dragon.
That's my biggest fear. Like a Comic-Con, you better make like 3 decisions. And you just got to stick with those 3 decisions no matter what. Be like, oh shit, wait a minute, there goes freaking whoever famous person I was about to go follow. No, you got to stay in this line because you stuck in this line, right? And that's all you get to do.
And you got to drop $200.
Yeah. So, but again, as far as I know Jingle Jim has a podcast here tonight, so hope to listen to it. I believe this. Your ticketed event or paying to get into event, that is what you pay. All the Donatos and Skyline and all that other stuff is all on donation. And I think that's probably how the autographs will work, or not autographs. I don't care about autographs, but that's how the pictures and stuff will work too. So, but you're gonna have to wait in them damn lines, and that's probably the bigger issue. But I'm gonna be there. I'm excited. I might bring the little mic and try to get some content for us, but we will see. But it's obviously an exciting thing. Bengals Jim has done good work. His what's it called, the jam to the hall or something like that. I mean, I think that helped get posthumously Ken Riley into the Hall of Fame. I think all of that work that they did and I think it's going to work with Willie Anderson and probably Kenny Anderson here too, hopefully before they pass away. And I think that's going to work. And they jungle to the hall, it was they caravan all that stuff up to Canton and have been politicking it for these guys. Willie Anderson went from not being on the ballot and he the top 6 are the last ones, and he wound up being in the top 10 like over the last couple of years from this. So like I think that's probably a very good thing. And again, whatever you think or know about this man, I've told this story on the podcast before that when we went over to the game in Tampa, almost 2 years ago now, his tailgate you needed tickets for. I did not know you needed tickets for it. And I reached out to him on Twitter and, it was sold out and he made it happen. He got me 2 tickets. He was like, yeah, here you go. Don't tell nobody. And now, not in the moment or whatever. And then, when we went and did the tour of the stadium that we didn't even know that was, a couple years ago too. We didn't even know that was a thing. He was the one that hooked that up too. So, yeah. And again, I've been to his tailgate. It is a party, absolutely, for sure. It is the home game ones are not ticketed events. It's not a ticketed event. You can go there. Everything is on donation. So you want some Hue to Pole, you can have it. I didn't, but you want some Hue to Pole beer, you could. But if you want all these other types of beers, there's a DJ. It's a big party, And the only thing that was a great time, and then the Bengals lost, and that was the worst part of the whole thing. So yeah, that is what it is. But that's it, man. What else you got, Hutch? We're good.
We're covered and smothered.
All right. So yeah, I'm gonna encourage you, although I don't know if you can still get a ticket at this point, but maybe I could make that happen for you. You know, I would encourage you to go. Why wouldn't you at this point? I guess, other than you don't want to see a bunch of old dudes. But
I don't want to see a whole bunch of old dudes. I'm gotten to the point now. I'm like Richard Pryor at the gravesite. Get to the part about the dirt.
Yeah.
I want to see us in the hell. I like to be in the 1 seed in the AFC North, but whatever. I want to see that.
We'll end on this, and I think I told you this the other day. So I'm going to show it here in front of God and the world here. Hold on. So, do I believe in the Bengals? Do I believe that they are making it to the Super Bowl this particular season? Do I believe that? Is that something that I think is going to happen? Hope that it's going to happen. All of those things. Is that something that I believe? And hold on, let me show y'all this on my share screen, and we'll end on this. You see when that hotel is booked for 2024 or 2025?
Mm-hmm.
That's 3 days after the Super Bowl. I've already booked my hotel for Kentucky for the parade. It's booked. Refundable, but booked. So I believe in this team. I would never necessarily call me ever an optimistic person. If you listen to any of our podcasts, you know that I leave during games. I walk, I drive around. Like I get nervous. I've still never seen a playoff win live, since '88. But I do believe that they have the potential, without barring injury or anything unforeseen, that they have the potential to be at a minimum a Super Bowl contender and potentially a winner based on however this goes. So I'm booked. I'm set. I'm ready. All right.
I'm going to Arizona to find some indigenous population and hopefully make my coffers bigger. But if not there, or not mine, probably there.
Jeez, awful. Okay. So that's it, y'all. So we'll be back as we get closer and closer. Probably we'll record after I get back from the Jungle Jam. And that'd be my guess. Maybe Hutch and I get a live podcast in when I'm up in Atlanta here in a couple of days. We'll see how that goes. But until then, y'all, we will see y'all. Who day? Hutch, go ahead and sign off.
Who day? Good luck.
Yep. Who day, everybody? Peace.